Right, hopefully this is all working all right and YouTube notifies I'm on. I don't know if the angle will look a bit different at the moment. It's because where I've got the new TV that arrived today, the webcam sits on top of the TV, the monitor, and because this is a bigger TV and it's got a different type of stand, it may or may not look different with the camera. So it will look like the same camera quality because it's still the same webcam, but it's actually, from a different distance, if that makes sense. And also it looks kind of crap to me now because of the fact that I'm on a 4K screen and I'm now seeing the webcam displaying like 1080p, which is always a bit funny because as soon as you get a 4K screen and you start looking at actual 4K stuff, you're kind of like, oh, don't like 1080p anymore. Right, hopefully some people get on and you get notified, because I do know with these that often it doesn't notify people properly. It's not on members only mode, it's just on subscribers only mode for a week. It also, I know sometimes a chat break, so if I need to do a pop-out chat window, I'll do that in a minute. But I'm really liking the new screen at least, so I've got the 3090 and now I've got a screen to actually play games and see them in 4K, and it looks really nice. So there we go. Although I played a few hours of games in 4K earlier, then immediately went back to playing old games that you can't even run in 4K anyway, so oh well. But there we go. So let me do pop-out chat in case the chat's broken. No, nobody's appearing in the chat yet. So, oh, Craig's on. Hello, Craig. You're right. You're the first person on. So what's interesting is apparently I can pin chat messages now. Well, that's good. So it means if somebody asks a question and I'm answering it or whatever, I can pin that message to the top of the chat. Right, Flazzy, all right, Bright, all right, Justin. So the picture quality won't look very good on here because of the fact that, there we go. Ooh, it's going to do that weird thing now, isn't it? Yeah, that doesn't really work with a webcam, does it? But yeah, there you go. That's the new TV. But obviously, in 1080p stuff, it looks really nice. To give you an example, let me open up a screenshot I took earlier in Red Dead Redemption. So Red Dead Redemption 2. View on disk, however I do that. And then I'll show you what that looks like so you don't just see the screen sort of repeating over and 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 over. So I want to go to remote. I think Red Dead's probably this screen number. Yeah, there we go. So that's what, obviously, again, you're going to be limited by your own monitor, and this doesn't look as good as directly showing a screenshot, but hopefully you can see there sort of how good something like Red Dead Redemption 2 looks in 4K. The main thing that's sort of crazy is like the level of detail you get on some of the bits of like grass and stuff like that. But again, I know some people have been using 4K for a while, but it's got to the point now where it's more affordable. So, Anyway, so that's good. That came. So, yeah, if the screen, as I was saying, if the webcam looks different, it's just because it's on a bigger screen on a different stand. So it means the angle's going to be a bit different with how the TV sits. But the good thing is this television doesn't wobble. That's about as much as you can get it to wobble if you physically push it. My old TV stand was awful, but I did actually repair that today because we moved that to one of the old, another rooms in the house, and my dad can have it as his TV because it's bigger than the one he had there. So what I ended up doing was getting my electric screwdriver and essentially drilling out holes and then redoing the stand for it, so it's better than the crap stand it came with. It's definitely worth it, Brighthole. It plays really well on PlayStation 4 anyway because it came out on PS4 before it did on PC, so again, on PC, it's going to look the best, but on PS4, it still is really, really good. All right, Mike, I was just showing people some of the screenshots I sent you earlier on the new TV. Of course, the problem is, like I've said, is that, unless you're seeing it on a 4K screen, you're not going to really see all the quality. But, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you know that if you get a 4K image and a 1080p image next to each other, you can just see the 4K one looks bigger, essentially. And that's just because of the fact that obviously more pixels, but on a 4K TV, it actually fits those into the screen resolution. I'm all right, thank you. And a cool thing that YouTube have added, I don't know what day they've added it, so I can just do it with like Mike's comment. For example, to show you, is they let you pin messages now. So apparently the reason you can pin messages is so if I'm replying to somebody, I can actually pin their question now so people know what I'm answering. So that's good. It's just a useful little feature. It's quite good now that they've done the thing of like you can make it so only subscribers only can come on the chat, so you don't get as much spam and stuff like that. Because yeah, I know you do that with StreamYard or whatever it is you use, don't you, Mike? But yeah, this is a thing they've actually done on YouTube's interface now. Oh, that's good, Flazzy. So yeah, if you don't want to keep reading it, you can just dismiss it. But yeah, it's just more, I suppose, if somebody asks a question, I can now, like when I'm answering it, have it pinned so people know what I'm talking about. I don't know if they watch the stream back, if it will pin it at the same time. Which model of Radiac? Because different models of Radiac have different detection ranges. So you're going to have to tell me which model of Radiac you're interested in. But in general, if it's a Geiger counter style Radiac for lower radiation levels, pretty much anything will work as a check source for that. Because if it's a Geiger counter, as long as it's anything radioactive, it's going to set a Geiger counter off. If it's an ionization chamber, like a Radiac Mark II kind of thing, something like a CDV 715, you're going to need stuff that's like X-rays or dangerously radioactive. So I'd say personally, don't get check source for that unless you really know what you're doing. And also read the laws in your country, because in most countries you can legally own stuff that will set off Geiger counters because, it doesn't need to be very radioactive. But in some countries, you're not going to be able to legally buy the stuff that, will set off the higher level meters. Yeah, exactly, Mike. That's the thing. All right, Tyre? And I forgot to pin that then as I was answering it. But yeah, it's just more that it's an extra feature. But yeah, what I was doing earlier was jumping between, games where you can change the resolution without having to restart the game. I was doing it, between 1080p and like 4K. I was like, The main thing I'd say it looks like, if you look at something in 4K and then look at it in 1080p, it just 1080p just kind of looks a bit fuzzier. That's the easiest way of describing it. So it's not as bad looking at 1080p on 4K as it is looking at like a regular DVD on a like 1080p screen. But it's that same effect. So, the easiest way of demonstrating it is, say if you've got a HD TV, go on regular BBC One or whatever, and then go on channel 101, so it's like BBC HD One or whatever it is. That's the easiest way of like telling the difference. And then imagine that again with 4K, where, it just looks again like a sharper image. Because my webcam's 1080p, I can see looking at this now, it doesn't look as good as most of the stuff I've been looking at. But Fallout 4 looks surprisingly good on 4K, which really surprised me. Because I've noticed that Fallout 4 has a couple of features that the RTX cards seem to take advantage of, where like my older Radeon card couldn't do that, just to do like how shadows look and everything. But yeah, so I've not got the TV box behind me because that would be too big, but it was a Philips 43-inch 4K one. It's not one of like the completely top end OLED type things, but it's easily good enough because it's massively better than my old TV. Justin Baker says, I'm very lucky. I broke my tooth. That doesn't sound lucky. But got an appointment tomorrow at dentist. It was a cancellation and there's a 3-week plus waiting. Yeah, it's not lucky as it breaking your tooth, but at least, yeah, with how long it is to see a dentist at the moment, that is good at least, I guess. Oh, you are Brighton. What I've got at the moment is proper naval rum, but I've got it mixed because the naval rum I bought the other day is 57%. So it's very good as a mixer. It's called Wood's Old Navy. And 57% is the actual proper strength of naval rum. I was looking it up. Oh, exactly, Flazzy. But I was just using that as an example because I know it's 101, but is it 3 and 103 if we're doing it by TV or whatever? But yeah, naval rum's quite interesting. I tried a bit of it neat last night, and fucking hell, it burns your throat. It's not as bad as that like Polish 95% vodka because obviously it's 57%, but it's not pleasant drinking neat. What What's that pizza place? No idea what that is. I mean, there's the Freddy Fazbear's pizza thing. Is that the thing? Showbiz, like what it's a parody of, but we don't have that in the UK. At least I don't think we do. Well, I know Brightol in Poland, you can buy lots of vodka for like the equivalent of £5 because I did that when I was on holiday there and brought like a suitcase full with me and my dad full of like vodka back. Because the fact is like literally like £4 to £5 for a bottle of vodka is crazy. But yeah, the navel rum's all right actually. As a mixer, it's proper good. But at the moment, I've got it mixed with an energy drink because it's like the only because I've run out of Pepsi, so I've had to order some more Pepsi because rum definitely goes better with like a Coke or a Pepsi type thing than it does with like a cherry energy drink. This is drinkable. I did try proper grog yesterday, just diluting it 2/3 water. And grog's all right. I mean, you don't really want water as a mixer with something like rum, but it's drinkable. Is Applejack like the Jack Daniel's apple? I've had Jack Daniel's apple because they actually sell that here. That's all right. I think I prefer the honey like whiskies rather than the apple whiskies, but I'd happily drink that. Yeah, Fluzzy, this is a similar thing to Red Bull. Well, it's not Red Bull. It doesn't taste like Red Bull. It tastes all right on its own, but yeah, as a mixer, it's I wouldn't. This tastes more like Cherryade, I'd say, than Red Bull. This stuff. But yeah, I'd actually have to try Red Bull stuff. I'm sure I've had that in clubs before. Back when that used to be a thing. I know it's starting again now, but this is going back like 5 years ago. Some of them did quite interesting, like incredibly caffeinated drinks mixed with incredibly hard alcohol. You know. Yeah, Mike. If let me see on Drink Supermarket if they do that rum. I can't probably direct link you because I'm sure I could on Twitch, couldn't I? Let's have a look. Drink Supermarket. I want to see if that rum I've got at the moment's on there. Because if you haven't tried it, I reckon you'd quite like it. It's about 40 units in a 70 centilitre bottle. Yeah, they've got it on there. It's $27.99, which I'd say for that price, it's quite good actually. But I think it might have been a bit cheaper on Amazon. But that Gel Blaster, I think, should come tomorrow, Mike. Right, I've linked you on Twitter, Mike, to that rum that I've got at the moment. But yeah, it's 57%. Like I said, it's definitely better as a mixer when it's that strong. But right, I reckon £3 to £4 for that bottle. Right, unless it's. I didn't look at the size though, because obviously the size, if it's a litre or 500 millilitres, that will affect the price of it as well. All right, cheers, Soviet Stan 72. And did that Radiac thing answer your question? Because I assume that's what you meant by a Radiac. Did you something like that? Well, I know all the US old army Geiger counters and that are just called Radiacs. Radiac just means like radiation detector. It's not specific to certain ranges. £3 for 200ml isn't too bad, but yeah, I got £5 for 500ml. But yeah, if you're paying roughly £1 or a bit more than £1 for every 100 milliliter, that's not bad at all, is it? Because that's like 3 shots for £1 essentially. But yeah, do you know what particular model of Radiac it is? I haven't done a video on it yet, and I can't power it up because of how many weird different obsolete batteries it uses. But I have got, and I'm trying to remember where I've stored the box for it. I've got like, oh, it's over there. I can see it. I've got a really cool old American Radiac, like American US Army Radiac from the 50s. That's like gigantic. It's really cool, but I can't power it up. I'll do a video on it because I'm sure people would want to see it. I mean, in theory, at Apavoz, you could if you glued another one properly on, but in practicality, no. It's not like something where you can just swap one in and out. You'd have to like reseal it properly and all that. All right, Fluzzy, I can always ask him on Discord because he's still on Discord at the moment. I just keep forgetting to ask him. But yeah, because I'm interested now with shotgun licenses going as well. All right, Rich, why people are thinking of things to talk about? Let me see if I can get all the junk off the top of the box and show you the radio. Hopefully, I can just open up the box here without having to. Yeah, there we go. Here's a big old thing. I need to do a video on this. There we go. Big old Radiac. So this is a... What year is this one? So it does millirontgens per hour. And it's got one of those cool, like, moving scales on it, look. So that's 0 to 5, green. 0 to... that's 0 to 0.5 is green. 0 to 5 is yellow, 0 to 50 is white for some reason, and 0 to 500 is yellow again. Oh no, sorry, that's actually blue, and then that's green. It's like the webcam colour doesn't look quite right for it. So blue, green, white, yellow for the scales. Well, I really like the old ones with the moving scales on them. I'm sure there's other good gas mask channels, but it depends what sort of content you like. So this is the probe on it. Got a big old probe on this one. Radiac detector DT106 PDR27G. A lot of the US ones are called PDRs, aren't they, for some reason? Yeah, the battery compartment on this thing is gigantic. That's the battery compartment. It takes what's essentially almost like a car battery size battery, but it's one of those old, like 100-volt batteries. And again, it's a dangerous kind of old battery because it's the ones where you can actually give yourself a fatal shock, I believe, if you touch the contacts on the battery. Because, you know, it was like, it doesn't really have a high voltage step-up transformer in this. They just did like a several, 100-volt, couple of amp battery for this thing. So again, touch the contact, especially if you've got wet hands or a cut, and zap. All right, Persia, you okay? Right, I've got my lab power supply unit 6.6 jet, but the problem with this one is it takes several different types of obsolete batteries in different places, so it's not really worth it. Because basically it has the big old obsolete battery in that section, and then I think it's got another obsolete battery that goes in that section that looks a bit like a D cell, but well, that might be the calibration controls in there. But yeah, the point is with this one anyway, they're really cool, but they're not worth powering. I think there's a more modern variant of this, and when I say more modern, it's not modern, but like a bit more modern than this one, as in 1960s, not 1950s, where they did one that ran on like 10 D cells. But yeah, like I said, I'll do a video on this at some point, so I can't power it on. These are interesting. Was that the service record on the side? 28th of July 1964 was the last time it was calibrated. There you go. Let me flick the other light on so you can see that a bit better. But yeah, this is why the modern style Geiger counters that are this big are a lot more practical than these big old things. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the videos, people. Yeah, I mean, vodka and spirits are very good if you want to get alcohol in your system quickly, aren't they? I generally prefer just beers or wine, but yeah, spirits are fine if you just want to get pissed, really. I'd be wiped out in Telebrite films because where I am, I'm pretty close to a small-scale airport that's sometimes used by the army. So even if they put like a 25 kiloton warhead on that airfield, I'd be dead. I suppose that means you don't die horribly from fallout, doesn't it? It means you're just pretty much wiped out. But yeah, I'm not too far from RAF Bryce Norton, and Bryce Norton would definitely be a target. The local airport near me is one that, like, sometimes military planes and helicopters use it But it's primarily a civilian airfield, but it would still, I imagine, be targeted if it was by a nation that, has loads of nukes to go around. No, Gatwick's like one of London's big airports. Gatwick and Heathrow are the London ones. I'm not in London at all. But yeah, I think if there was an all-out big exchange, you're pretty much doomed. Is the answer. And the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, are currently building more and more missile silos for bigger yield nuclear bombs. So they're doing the opposite of what America, Russia, Britain, and France did, which is basically say we'll cut down the number of nukes and we'll make them like, very precise, lower yield nukes to make like the least amount of destruction possible. China is going full on, let's make as many 5 megaton warheads as possible kind of thing, which is not good for, a nuclear war. Which means that technically the West needs to start upping our nuclear stockpile again. Which, is again, new Cold War, yay. I hope you like Fred. Oh, all right, chocolate muffin. I hope they didn't get into your account and all that. Hello to you in Poland. Brightols from Poland on here. But anyway, chocolate muffin, Fluzzy keeps asking, how are you getting on with your shotgun certificate thing? Anyway, if you're interested in chocolate muffin, before I put it away, there's a really retro old 1950s to 1960s era US Army Radiac. Weighs well over 5 kilos, I think, this thing. It's a proper old hefty thing. I do like how it stores the probe, though, in this bit at the back. It's not a practical one at all. It's just, I found one on eBay, I think, where somebody was just selling it secondhand. Like saying, I don't think it works, but there it is. But yeah, it's, like I say, and sadly, it's just one of those ones that uses a combination of various obsolete batteries. So it's like, if you really wanted to go to the effort, I'm sure you could get 3D printed cases, or put a couple of different power supplies on the right bits to get it powered on. But it's not really worth it because those old ones aren't that accurate anyway. It's just more cool if you wanted to just see one functioning. Yeah, you could always use it as a weight or a doorstop, Craig. It has got functions, but yeah, sadly, using it to detect ionizing radiation isn't that practical. Because, like I said, it has a smaller range than the radius scan, and it can't detect alpha radiation like the radius scan can. So it's all in all completely inferior to something like this. Maybe durability-wise, it might be a bit stronger, but this is a lot more practical, isn't it? In all honesty, something like this. That's the thing, Justin. Even if you weren't directly nuked, if you're downwind of a bomb, you're fucked, aren't you? Shed on fire. I think, in all honesty, with what the CCP is doing at the moment, it's just going to simply be more bombs. Because, if you were a state, obsessed with the idea of taking over most of Asia, which unfortunately the Communist Party there seems to have the intention of doing, you're going to want more nukes, not less nukes. If they've got the capacity to make nuclear weapons, they would do it. It's, it's kind of a bit like, I think, with like Nazi expansionism, in like the 1930s, is, oh no, we're only building all these tanks for peaceful reasons, I violated the Treaty of Versailles, I did it again. I think when there's those sort of regimes, they're never gonna be doing the good thing of, some of these are like, so you don't know where we're putting the bombs. I think every single one is going to be crammed with as many megatons as they can get them. Right, Keaton? You missed the Radiac, but I'm not getting it out again. Well, if you had a very limited nuclear exchange, it's completely survivable. But I don't think if we had, like I say, a big full-scale mad thing, it's not survivable, no. Unless you really luckily live somewhere, like, in a big barren country that doesn't have many strategic targets, and you're lucky with wind direction, I haven't Shed on Fire, but I'll read. I'll put that on my reading list if I remember it. What happened with what? One of the old USPD ones, whatever they're called. Keaton, watch the video back and you'll see, but it's one of those gigantic ones. It looks a bit like a CDV 700, but much, much bigger and heavier. You'll probably know the one I mean. It goes from 0 to 500 milliroentgen. I really like Castle Bravo from just the sheer spectacle of it. But yeah, like I said, if you want to film about what would happen in the reality of nuclear war, Fred's is probably the one to watch and then say, yes, I hope there never is a nuclear exchange. Because I think the problem is, I think a lot of people think a nuclear exchange would be a bit more like World War II, where it was essentially only one side had nukes, and it was used as kind of the ultimate, you surrender now or we keep dropping them kind of thing. Whereas a modern nuclear exchange wouldn't be like that. It's essentially, if you don't use them, you lose them kind of situation. So it just continually escalates. But yeah, so weirdly, well, if I could legally shoot a Sten, which bear in mind I can't because I'm in the UK and very few Americans could even legally shoot them unless they had all the right paperwork for it. I mean, I'd love to shoot a Sten. I mean, is the Sten a good submachine gun as far as submachine guns go? No, it was designed to be cheap to mass produce. The Sterling is like the good version of the Sten, essentially, because the Sterling is like the Sten but with loads and loads of design improvements. To the point it's not really even the same gun, but the Sterling is really nice. But yeah, if I had the opportunity to legally shoot a Sten, I'd love to legally shoot a Sten. But Fred's was the film we were on about. Like I said, we bring up a lot. Fred's, as in THREADS, the one about nuclear nightmare fuel. P90, just because it's got a big magazine, it looks cool, and it's got a really good armor penetrating round in it. But all of those are cool guns. But because the thing is with me, and I'm sure a lot of the other people here, if somebody says, "Oh, could you have one of these guns?" It's like, "Oh, could I have all of them?" Well, if not, I'll have to pick one, but I'd be happy with any of them. Because that YouTube does a pinning thing now, and we tested it earlier. So if you could own either one legally, what, as like a civilian for defending yourself kind of thing, a submachine gun or a machine pistol? Just because if you could legally have either of them, you'd probably want the much more compact, easy to carry thing. Because I think a lot of people probably don't realise how heavy and bulky a machine gun is. If you look up the video I've got on the Bren gun, I know a lot of modern machine guns are a bit more lighter and compact than a Bren gun. But if you consider a Bren gun was considered lightweight by a World War II machine gun standard, and it's like 10 kilos, isn't it, or something like 6-7 kilos? I think it's 7 kilos of the Bren I've got. I think, yes, most people would be completely traumatized if they survived any sort of big horrific event. Glock 18 is a lot more reliable than the Tech 9, isn't it? Although the Tech 9's one of those guns where I don't know if it's just because they got banned, they got all that cool appeal. Don't get me wrong, I like the look of it, but I suppose the Tech 9 is more like a little submachine gun, isn't it? Like a very compact submachine gun, where the Glock is more of an automatic pistol for the automatic Glocks. Where are you looking, Peugeot, at the merch? Because I think that's the minimum price that I can put stickers on for, so I just did some, and that was a minimum price. But yeah, if you were saying like in any sort of situation, there's a good Paul Harrell video on this where he's basically explaining that a gun that is compact and good enough that you'll carry it every day far outweighs a gun that you leave at home. You know, it's that sort of argument, isn't it? Because with any sort of thing, if it's a gun that has more features but it's heavier or whatever, and you can't justify putting it in your pocket every day or like a little concealed holster, it's not a good gun because you won't have it there when you need it. Whereas, you know, his point is that there's like lots of very small pocket revolvers which actually beat a lot of much more expensive, better pistols in the sense that more people would carry them, which I think is a very good point that gets overlooked a lot. Because, you know, he was especially saying this for like a lot of women, what you'd call a purse gun. That, you know, if they've got something that they can fit in a handbag or like a little bag like that, that is inevitably better than the gun that they'd have to have a specialist holster for. Is the super chat stickers thing, Pergio, literally like a super chat, just not a chat message? It's like an emoji, isn't it? I don't know. I've had people give me money for them before, and it's nice. I appreciate the money, but yeah, I don't really get it. It's just a feature YouTube added. Yeah, sounds good, Intellibright Films. So that's the thing. If you carry it and you've got like a holster for it and you have no issue carrying it, that's going to have a very good magazine capacity and everything else, hasn't it? But, most modern military masks are absolutely fine to shoot with because they're designed with the ergonomics of that in mind. I mean, it's going to depend what you want to shoot, because if you're using something of a scope, then that is a bit different than shooting like a pistol or something with iron sights. Because obviously, something to bear in mind is how well you can cheek weld with a mask on. You know, do that. I can't get a gun out with a mask to show you because YouTube will strike my stream. Otherwise, I'd get one of the rifles out from there and we could demonstrate some of this. But in general, I find masks where the front eye bits are flat, like an S10 or an FM12, if that makes sense. So they're more of like that sort of shape. See how I mean? Like that's flatter rather than it being like a bulbous eyepiece. They're generally better for looking through a scope with, because you can get the eyepiece or mask closer to the scope. 1911's a classic though, aren't they? John Moses Browning could really design guns. Because this is the thing, I'm sure there's a lot of other people like this. Like, obviously, I'm not in America, sadly, and I can't legally carry a pistol for self-defense. But looking at a lot of guns like that, as much as the more modern guns, like lighter, you know, have better features, there's something lovely about like high powers and 1911s, aren't there? Just how well built they look. You know, it's just essentially a chunk of really good metal. John Moses Browning designed so many guns as well. That's a really cool thing. Without a safety, though, isn't it, Drunk Russian? But the more interesting thing about the Tokarev is the cartridge it shoots. Because the thing is, like, it's essentially a backwards engineered 1911, isn't it, without a safety on it? But it's also in a different cartridge because it's in 7.62 by 25mm, the same round the PPS-8 shoots. And it's the one that has that retardedly good performance, even though it was never designed to, against modern Kevlar armor. Because a lot of them were like steel cord jackets, weren't they, or whatever? Or steel jacketed rounds, whatever it was. Plus, they're quite high velocity, so they end up just penetrating Kevlar better than stuff like 9mm. But yeah, we can have a gun talk for ages, because YouTube doesn't seem to mind you talking about guns, it's just you can't show them on streams, which is annoying. Well, you can show them, but you can't pick them up and handle them, can you? Because, like, if I do this, I don't get in trouble. I can do that. That's fine, according to YouTube. I can't pick those guns up, take the stream down. What do you mean, Mingo Chingo? Because the M14 is actually quite an old rifle. It's just the modern ones are upgraded as M14s, essentially, where they pick the good ones and then slap more stuff on them. But you had the M1 Garand, didn't you? The M1A and then the M14 in terms of like design. history, and then the M16 replaced the M14 pretty quickly because the M14 wasn't very good. I mean, it's all right for certain roles, but the M14 had a lot of inherent problems with it. Because there was the thing where the M14, they essentially sabotaged the FAL in the trials to get the M14 in use, whereas there's a weird bit of history where if America went with the FAL instead of the M14, would they have then developed 5.56 as a cartridge, or would they have used the FAL for ages and then moved to something else entirely? Yeah, there's lots of funny things like that, Rich, isn't there? That companies that end up making military stuff, which normally don't, like Nokia, for example, making gas masks as well. Scar L because it's an FN rifle and it's like a modern FAL. Exactly, in Telebrite films, I think a lot of people forget, don't they, that you can use a gun for hunting and lots of like job type uses other than it's just to shoot people. Because I think a lot of people forget that pest control is actually a really necessary thing as well. Like even with just like varmint type things that I like animals. I don't like the idea of like shooting animals for no reason, but there are, times where if animals aren't kept in like a certain number of, like the population's kept in check, that they can cause like massive destruction to ecosystems. Especially if it's an introduced animal that then doesn't have natural predators and stuff like that. Like they have like that issue in loads of places where species gets introduced, outcompetes local wildlife, outbreeds them, and if you didn't then cull them seasonally or whatever, you then run into the problem of like loads and loads of local wildlife is being knocked out. Right, your mother? Um, the police use the FM12 though, shed on fire. The CT12 is only, isn't it, for specialist armed police units. And I think the idea as well is that they can swap the filter to each side themselves. But yeah, the weird thing is since getting the 3090, yesterday and today I've been playing a lot of the original Fallout because I found a really good mod for the original Fallout. It's called, what's it called? It's something like Fallout Fixed. Let me check the name of it. Yeah, Fallout Fixed, but it's like FIXT, and it's a mod that you can either do a purist version of it that just fixes bugs that were never like patched out of the original game, or when you install it, you can change loads of things, like including a load of like fan additions to the thing, including cut content that they've like redone. And the bit I really like about it, you can change the timer in the game. So originally in Fallout, you have 150 days to get the water chip, and I don't really like that in Fallout 1 because it kind of stops you exploring as much as you want to, because you've got like a limited time to do stuff. So what I like about this mod is when you install it, you can actually set the timer to I need to alter the settings. Your TV will switch off in 5 minutes. Press OK to continue watching. I'll have to go in the settings and find out how to turn off auto stuff like that then, because that is not good for a monitor. But yeah, in this mod, you can have it like as 30 days, which would be like a very, very punishing experience in Fallout. Or you can have it to be like several years. So I've just picked that. So basically, I can just play the game at my own pace, and not have to worry about getting to Necropolis like quite quickly and then getting a water chip. I can just do whatever I want, like and travel around the map as much as I want. All right, people still on. I've not seen any new comments unless the chat's broken. While I'm waiting for people to talk, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to turn off the function. So I assume I go to settings. All right, settings. Sleep timer. I guess it's that. No, I don't. That's not on it. Okay, sleep timer is off. Screen off. No, I don't want that. Oh no, I don't. I don't want that. How do I put it back on? There we go. AI settings. Is it one of those? general settings, eco settings. Oh, no, I don't want to do that again. I keep doing that. There's the screen off on. Switch off timer. Okay, there we go. Set the switch off timer to 0 if you want to use the TV as a monitor. There we go. Disabling switch off timer may affect energy consumption. I know, I don't care. The TV does not use much electricity per year. Does anyone actually want to guess on here how much a big modern LCD or LED TV typically uses of power per year? It's actually quite interesting. Oh, thanks, Fluzzy. I'll have a look and see what they've got in, because I've actually eaten a lot of the rations I've got now. Because I wasn't, with those rations, particularly planning on having them as like a long-term storage one. A lot of those were kind of like, I can take them out and on a walk with me and eat them easily, sort of thing. So yeah, I'll have a look, because it's quite good at the rations, because you can buy however many you want at a time, can't you, sort of thing. Now, Googling it's cheating, right? The answer is, per year, most TVs typically use like 50 to 60 kilowatts per year. I assume that's based on them not running 24/7, but running for like a couple of hours per day. Yeah, I like those, Flazzy, but some of the other people I've talked to don't like them. The maple syrup ones are basically the same outside bread as the cherry turnovers and the blueberry turnovers, but a different filling, because it's like a maple syrup filling, isn't it? I still think the blueberry turnover is the best of those ones, just because it's a really nice, sweet kind of difference between that and the bread. So yeah, $41 a year. Wow, it's nothing, is it? Because and that's actually more expensive than the UK American energy prices. Because on our energy provider, every kilowatt is about 12 pence, I think. So yeah, mining in the UK is actually surprisingly cheap. Because that's the thing. I was looking up, and yeah, in some there's very few countries where you'd lose money mining, but yeah, in some places you wouldn't make very good profits, but yeah, UK is like average 12 to 20 pence per kilowatt hour, which is quite cheap. And then also, if you put a few solar panels on your roof or whatever, you're probably making a profit from your electricity per year, not using electricity up. Other than 666 Jet reading some old training manual type things, no. I mean, I've gone on a couple of courses, not really like survival ones, but, like other sort of emergency. So would you call those survival ones, like ones how to evacuate a building in case of a fire? Like not a basic fire drill one, but those sort of ones. Like the basic first aid ones that you don't get a first aid certificate from it, but like how to help somebody if they had like some sort of serious injury while the first aid arrives, sort of things. Intellibright Film says he's got survival training. There you go. Right, so yeah, as you said, I'm not here for legal advice. Is this bring it into the UK or what? Because, in all honesty, I imagine you cannot put a gun in a suitcase. I imagine if you want to transport a gun, you'd have to find a courier that willingly transports guns, even if they're antiques. Because I imagine if you put a pinfire in a suitcase and it goes through the metal detector, they are going to be arresting you no matter what. Because I reckon they will not know that that's an antique. They reckon it will be. They probably look at it and think you're trying to smuggle a gun. What was Pergio saying? I must have missed it. Oh, dragon soup. All right. Only thing I might change for this TV, because I do it in the Windows settings. Notice how small the chat is. Chat is absolutely tiny. The reason is because I've got the text at the moment set to 100%, and you typically want it like 150% plus when you're using a big monitor. That sounds interesting though, Mike. Yeah, a bit dear at £3 per can, but I guess it might be worth trying it though. That's the thing. It's probably like something like that. It's worth buying a pack to try it. But it wouldn't be like a regular drinking beer, would it, at that price? But there's lots of beers that I sometimes like buying now and again just as to have like a nice, enjoyable drink with them, even if they're not very. Because that's the thing, is if you want to just get alcohol for the best like price per unit, you want like really cheap vodka or something like that, don't you? The best thing to do, because I've got one of these, is get one of those things you can plug an electric thing in, and it tells you like how many watts it's pulling, how many volts it's pulling, and all that. And you can use that to work out exactly what it costs per year. Assuming that you're always running it. Because I like using those for things as well, where electronics don't tell you what the specs are of them, so you can plug it into that to see. Like Big Clive shows you them in his videos quite a lot. But they're that sort of thing that you plug a plug into them, and then they give you a readout on like how many amps, watts, and all that it pulls. Yeah, it might be worth it, Mike, isn't it, if you're getting a few weird things to try? Because it's always interesting trying stuff like that. Because there's stuff I've tried before that I wouldn't think I'd have liked, and then I've ended up really liking them. They're not World War II masks. What do you think the M51 means in its name? Hint: 51. It's not a World War II mask. It's very similar to a World War II mask, but it's not a World War II mask. But I think they're quite good masks just for visually looking like what a lot of people think a gas mask looks like, the M51s. Yeah, IntelliBright's got a model of 1951. There's an M53 as well, which is a slightly updated version of the same mask. As far as I'm aware, it's just got a different like voice diaphragm cover on it. That's the only difference. But yeah, 1951 and 1953. I think it's something like the TC38, isn't it? The French World War II mask. Something like that it's called. 1938 design, basically. No, Flazzy, I don't think I did. Let me just search your comments. Flazzy. Right, and then I need to go right down because it's now gone to the top of all the messages you've posted. So, also, I uploaded a quick short video to demonstrate my new rifle bolt. Think you'll find it satisfying. Cool, I'll watch that at some point then. But yeah, those Tika bolts are lovely, aren't they, with how smooth they are? Because I saw on a Hiccup video, they're like all one machine bit of metal, aren't they, that they cut the bolt. So it's not like a bit welded together. It's like they actually get a bit of metal and they mill it into the precise shape of the bolt, which is lovely. So yeah, get that, have it a bit lubricated, and then it's going to be a smooth fucking bolt. Not like a shitty straight pull, or like the Austrian rifle I've got. I like that rifle, but yeah, straight bolts aren't very good in terms of like the amount of resistance you get from the bolt moving. There's no really way of knowing 2 grams of gold unless you know what the model of helmet is. Because there's steel pots, which might stop a pistol round, and that's about it. Plus, obviously, shrapnel. That's what they were designed for, shrapnel. There's some old tank crew style helmets that are basically like hard hats that wouldn't stop anything. They're just designed to stop like the crewmen's bumping their head. So bear that in mind if you see some of the plasticky looking helmets. Some of them literally are like a hard hat style helmet. Then you've got like ballistic nylon and Kevlar helmets, which can really vary in how good they work. Like Mark 6 helmets are shit, Mark 6As, which are actually Kevlar, are good. And then we're now moving on to stuff like thermoplastic, which is really, really good. So you need to know which model of helmet is to look what the filler is in it. Cheapest reliable mask on the market at the moment. It's hard to say because of Corona. I'm actually trying to have a think now. Let me just go on eBay, type in gas mask, and see what comes up, and then I'll link to you if anything turns up that's actually, genuinely good. I'm going to need to fix the resolution though. Hang on a second. Right click, display settings, text size, 150%. Yeah, 150% is fine. It's not gigantic, but it's easily usable. Right, gas mask. Let's see what comes up, and I'll tell you if any of them are good. The problem is at the moment, all the good masks like S10s, like normally over £100. Right, I found you a very good one. It says it's pre-owned, so hopefully it's not had somebody come all over it. Actually, no, that looks a bit dodgy, that one. Like somebody maybe might have been using it for something a bit kinky. So I won't link you to that one. Right, I found you something very, very good for the price. I would personally buy this in an instant. So I'm gonna at you because somebody else in the chat might buy it for this price. So you have to be quick if you want it. There you go. So that's an FM12 in a usable size. For under 60 quid with current mask prices, just go for that. That's essentially very similar to this mask. It's just got the drinking tube system on. Actually, saying that, does that have a drinking tube on? Yeah, it does. But yeah, so that's one from 2004, so that's a good date. So you just need a filter with it. It's made in Britain by Avon, that makes some of the best masks in the world. Wow. Firstly, you need to get a real Atlin helmet, not the ones that are the fake ones. And right, firstly, I don't have a 22 long rifle to shoot a helmet like that with. If I shot a 22 air rifle pellet with it, it's just going to scuff the helmet, and that's going to be it. I've shot some helmets before with air rifle pellets. It literally does nothing. Like the worst military helmets will still stop an air rifle pellet. Thank you, Unknown. Mike B, yeah, Steve. He's a channel that does a load of videos on helmets, yeah. But yeah, 4A1s you used to be able to get for good prices, Craig, but again, they seem to be one of those masks now which get harder and harder to find at a good price. Yeah, at the moment, Brightoll, £60 for an FM12 is a very good price, considering, like, you were lucky in the day if you got them when they were 30 to 40 quid, because now so many people just sell them at over £100. That's cool, right? But yeah, it was definitely a good time to get masks, wasn't it, a couple of years ago before all the COVID stuff happened, because a lot of people then just didn't see a use in them. So it was only like the top end military stuff that was actually valuable in a sense. A lot of the stuff was like, as soon as it was surplus, it'd be like 20 to 30 euros, dollars, whatever. And for that price, like loads of old masks are worth getting. I'll be off quite soon, though. Are you still on Twitch tonight, Mike, at 10:30? Because that's about an hour and a half away, isn't it? Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of masks, Brighto, is just sometimes the shipping can be retarded on a lot of things. That's a lot of the problem I've had with ordering from Russia as well. Like, you do sometimes get Russian sellers that charge a good price, but I've seen so many Russian sellers where they've got the mask for a reasonable price, and then they're either trying to make more money back on the shipping, or they're just using a really, like, overpriced shipping method. I think it's because it's probably the ones that don't take ages to get the parcel out of Russia. But still, like, I don't want to pay £50 for something that weighs like a kilo to be posted to me. That's silly. Because that's one of the problems I have buying from the US. The postage prices from the US normally aren't too bad, but normally I get a stupid tax bill on them. Like when they get through, they're like, "Oh, we've estimated that you'll need to pay like £30 to £50 tax on this because of like the value of the item." It's like, fuck off. Ah, that's cool, George. Yeah, as long as you've upgraded the mask so it's going to survive fine, that's fine. The only thing I get annoyed with is when people basically take masks airsofting and don't do any upgrades to them. And then they're like, "Oh, the mask broke. I've just destroyed this mask." It's like, yes, because they're not designed for airsoft use. They're designed for, like, gas situations that are do or die. The thing is, Brighto, before Brexit, because I'm quite pro Brexit, but I will say that one of the good things before Brexit was at least there weren't any tariffs normally for buying from EU countries. Not always, there sometimes were, but for the most part, I could buy stuff from like Germany, France, wherever in Europe, and I never had to worry about like extra money being slapped on when you got something. Now, I do know there is a lot of stuff, isn't there, where they're putting like silly, like up to 20% on some items. So if you bought like a gas mask from France or somewhere, oh, probably not France because they tend not to sell gas masks, but say Germany, like you bought some old Cold War equipment from Germany. Oh, we have put you a £30 price on this Geiger counter you have bought, Schweinhund Englander. Postal 2, unfortunately, your mother would probably get me a strike on YouTube, I imagine, just because it's a fun game. But I mean, if I made a Twitch account, I suppose I could stream it on there. But I wouldn't risk it with YouTube because I've got strikes of video game videos before where YouTube literally is like, "Oh, I'm sure this is real life. I can't tell it's a video game." So, if I was playing Postal 2, they'd probably think, when Bin Laden runs out, I'm being legit racist or something, or shooting Gary Coleman. As much as I like Postal, and it's fun, the way YouTube's going, it wouldn't be worth risking my channel just to play that on YouTube. Yeah, Craig, I got a hate speech strike for a war game video. I am not making this up. It's the only strike on my channel because I couldn't appeal it. But yeah, I got a hate speech strike for that because apparently they can't tell that a video game is a video game and not real life. And of course, you can never actually bring it up to a person. It's, "Oh no, this has to be on your account." Like Ravenfield's fun, but I wouldn't want to do like stream Ravenfield if I was like doing the Zulu stuff in that, because I bet you somebody would be like, "Oh, that's racist Zulu. That's a racist film, racist history," and then you just get a strike for it nowadays. And that's the problem. Is like if you have a new channel, there's no risk doing it because if you get your channel banned and you're like a new and upcoming channel, it doesn't matter. When you start getting like close to 100k, you're just like, you can't risk it because that's half my income gone if my channel's gone, basically. Yeah, Czech Republic does have a lot of interesting stuff, yeah. But yeah, anyway, I'll be off in a minute because oh, cheers, Name 7 as well. You're the second person to join up today. It depends on what the gift is, Steve, because I do know there are certain things that are classed as gifts that are legit gifts, but there's a lot of stuff now where they just don't let you put gift on stuff to post it, because everything from China used to say gift to get around tax now, and they just ignore if it says gift and they tax it now. So you have to actually legit say what an item is. Did you say if you're on Twitch, Mike? Sorry, I don't think it came up in the chat, or if you did say it, I didn't spot you say it. Oh, yeah, you said, yeah, I'll be on, mate. Right, cool, yeah. It's because I Control F and did a Twitch search because I missed your comment. But yeah, that's cool. Right, I'll be off in a minute. Anybody that's watching Mike on Twitch later, I will be on there. Have I... Yeah, just to show you something cool before I go off. I was on about this laser. The ultraviolet one. Well, not ultraviolet, but it's... because it's 405 nanometer, it's like as close to ultraviolet as you get, the one that really makes that stuff glow, like really quickly. That's the cool thing with it, because it does watch loom instantly as well. Don't know if you can see that there, but literally instantly makes the watch loom glow. But yeah, it's fun, this one, because yeah, it literally, as you can see, lights up anything that reacts to glow in the dark stuff instantly. But yeah, cool. Anyway, I'll see anybody that's on Mike's Twitch stream later, because I'm sure I'll be on that. Because he might finish Resident Evil 8 tonight. You're quite close to the end now, aren't you? As you're partway through the factory bit, so that's fairly close to the end. If you don't finish it tonight, you'd easily finish it the time after, I reckon. But yeah, cool. Right, see everybody. I'm going to play a bit more of the classic Fallout for Mike's stream tonight. Because, yeah, I'm quite well into Fallout now, especially when you're playing about the time, because you don't have to rush anything. You can do like every quest you want to. Yeah, see everybody. Have a good evening.